Hi everybody, Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. Well, it's still a scorcher outside. I've got the air conditioner going still, and I thought what I would do for my second journal is to do something a little bit different. Now let me just reach around. So this is the first journal, drawing journal that I did, okay, with the hard covers. And with my, eccentric change my mind attitude, I decided I was going to do another one like this, but paint the covers, going to do something different. What I've done is I've got a whole bunch of folios here as one signature. So remember, a folded sheet is a folio, and a bunch of folios together makes a signature. And in the other book, I may have had 4 or 5 folios in one signature. This one is going to be just one signature comprised of a bunch of different sheets of paper. So I've got parchment style paper, I've got a piece of vellum, a piece of drawing paper, and a piece of TerraSkin. And then I repeated the same thing again, so just stacked on top of each other. So parchment, vellum, drawing paper, and TerraSkin. Okay? So it's 8 sheets of paper. Okay, so 8 folios, one signature. 8 sheets of paper will give me quite a bit of drawing surfaces. That works out to 32 individual pieces to draw on. So what I was thinking about doing for this is creating a artist journal for maybe something like art every day, whereas my goal will be to create a piece of art every single day. So this will give me 32 pieces. Well, depending on the day of the month, it could be 30 or 31 days, or if you're doing it in February, it could be different. But with 32, you're kind of covered. But knowing that I'm doing this now at the end of June, that I have 31 days in the next month, I technically could just paint this now, okay, which will leave me one sheet now for the rest of July. But I'm going to give myself a buffer zone to maybe skip a day, okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to paint one whole cover. And these are all going to be bound together using one straight, basic pamphlet style stitch. Okay, we're going to stitch it at the end. We're going to paint the cover first. So to do this, just get yourself a bunch of pages, okay, and fold them together. Now, if your pages are too thick, you'll have to either remove some pages, or once you fold them together and you stitch it, you'll have to take a ruler and an X-Acto knife, not on that side, this side, and then trim it down so you'll have a nice clean edge. Okay, or you can leave it unfinished, it doesn't matter. So, I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to be working on TerraSkin. Now, what I thought I would do for this cover is I want to try some different techniques. This is not a fine art piece, this is more of a mixed media type of piece. So what I'm thinking is, because it's kind of like an art a day type of thing, it's going to be more of like an idea book. I could draw in it, I could do colored pencil. On the TerraSkin pieces, I could paint with some acrylic paints. I could use my acrylic paints with a watercolor medium, but I can even use graphite. So it would kind of hold a bunch of different things. The only thing is, although TerraSkin can hold oils, I don't particularly like doing oils in an artist journal because you have to leave it open for so long. In saying that, I do have a color theory journal that I have done with oils, and it's just, I always add a drying agent in it, so it's not something that's impossible. Okay, so I've got my TerraSkin, and then I folded it already. Okay, folded it. You could use any stock you want. I'm just using TerraSkin because I like it. TerraSkin's paper made from stone. I'll have the information at the end of the video for all this stuff. Okay, now what do we do first? Well, what I'm thinking, the idea, kind of like this idea art a day journal, is I want to have some circles on here to simulate ideas kind of flowing. And I'm thinking about using complementary colors for the journal. And what I'm going to also do is, based on the front, is I'm going to use I don't even know how to explain it. Think of a writing tool that's attached to a paint bottle, and I'm going to do some writing on here, which is really cool. So, when creating this idea for this cover, you have to keep in mind that although this whole piece can be painted as is, this is all that's going to be visible, so you have to kind of incorporate that into your concept. So, we can paint this as its own, and this as its own, or together as one piece, but have it where it can be used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be painting the whole thing at once, but when folded it'll look like individual paintings, but it will be consistent with each other. Okay, and yes, I've got the camera in front of me, so yes, you are looking at this upside down, but it won't matter because we're looking at shapes for doing this. Now for paint, well, I'm going to be using Traditions paints, along with glazing medium, along with the decoupage for my sealer, and and I'm going to be using paper effects with the actual nib to do the writing with, and I'll get close-ups of all this stuff after. And then as we put the paint on, I'm thinking I want to actually do a subtractive technique of removing some paint. So I've got some baby wipes ready as well. Well, the first thing we got to do, let's get some paint on. I'm going to be creating primarily the contrasting colors, more like along with kind of like the reds, and greens for the contrasting colors, and then the greens, I'll have some that'll be more blue green and some yellow green. So I've got, let's see, the blue, green, yellow, green. So I've got the yellow, green, which yellow is next to red in the color wheel. And let's see, with the reds, maybe I'll put some violet in there. I don't know yet. I won't know until I actually start putting this stuff on. And for brushes, I just have my Royal Soft Grip brushes. I like them with the acrylic handle because I tend to leave my brushes in water, and I shouldn't, but you know, the handles won't crack, so I like using these. It's just a basic set of brushes. You know, I've got a flat round liner, I've got a bristle, a filbert, and a comb brush. So I may use all of them. I don't think I'm going to use the comb brush, but I'm probably going to use everything else. And I've got a little container of water. So let's get this started. I'm going to dampen my bristle brush, and I'm going to squirt out some Hansa yellow. And I didn't blot my brush either, and I'm just going to paint this like this. And typically I use the biggest brush possible, but I want the texture in here. And I'm also painting on a glass sheet, so it'll be very easy to clean up. I just have to use a scraper and scrape it off. And am I worried about yellow seeping underneath? No. Because with a TerraSkin, I will be using that for painting. I will more than likely put gesso on the other side to stiffen up the page. Because this is the cover, remember. And I kind of like wondering what I'm going to have underneath. But I want this layer to be fairly thick. Because depending on the texture, that's the next layer we put on will have all these a different effect. I just don't want to see thick ridges of paint, but I do want to see my brush strokes. Make sure you completely cover the paper. Now, if you don't have TerraSkin, no big deal. You can just do this on even canvas, like a canvas roll. I just wouldn't suggest, well, no, you can even use canvas paper. Just keep in mind that we're actually going to be punching through it, so make sure it's good quality canvas paper. I was actually going to do this with my actual primed canvas. I have a canvas on a roll. I was going to use it for that, but the TerraSkin kind of called out to me. There we go. So I'm going to put this brush in water, and now with this I'm going to let this sit and dry. Now the other thing you can do is if you have a heat gun, you can dry this, but if you're using TerraSkin, the TerraSkin will actually change its shape if the heat is too high. So when it comes to TerraSkin, I like leaving it the way it is. Okay, because it's not paper, it's made from stone. Alright, so I'm going to leave this the way it is, and I'll clean up my table, and then I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to grab some more paints and my baby wipes, and then we'll get started doing the next set of shapes. Alrighty, we're all dry. Now, so that color was Hansa yellow, okay, which is more of a yellow that's closer to orange. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use quinacridone burnt orange. And it's a transparent pigment. And the whole thing is that I'm looking at using transparent pigments. Now I'm going to use the same dirty brush, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to slip slap the colors, or the color, onto the paper. Very thinly. And you know what? Before I forget, I'm just going to add a little bit of glazing medium to that. Okay, that's better. And I'm just going to, that's better. That's going to make it really, really transparent. Let's get a really good close-up here. It's going to make it really transparent. I don't like adding too much water to this because it breaks down the pigment. But you can see that the texture from the yellow is showing through. Okay, I'm going to do 2 layers of this. Now, the extender that I'm using, okay, there's directions on the bottle, right on the back of the bottle. But with this one here, with the glazing medium, this one here, this one makes your paints transparent. There is also an extender and blending medium. I could have used that, which would have extended the drying time of this. The thing is that when I'm working on pieces like this, I don't want the drying time necessarily to be extended, but I did want this to be really transparent. So that's why I chose the glazing medium. As well, I can apply glazing medium in between layers to make them really luminescent. So you see how some areas I'm making them really thin. I'm using up whatever's left over out of the brush, just making it really, really thin. Different thicknesses of paint. Okay. And same thing with this one now. The TerraSkin I'm using, it's fairly thin, so it's kind of hard to stick. I usually mount this onto gator board or something like that, but it's just being used for a book cover. And I'm also not binding it first because I don't want to make a mess on the pages inside. Just make sure you have some interest going on. Just don't paint it, flat. This is ideally to be painted when there's music on, because then it'll be really random. And I love art. I've got 2 sides to me for creating art. I've got my logical side, still my creative side, but when I'm working on pet portraits and people portraits and stuff like that, if I do military portraits, that's, those types of paintings require concentration. Whereas this type of stuff, it's all about right brain creativity. And now I can flip this over, and I can actually put a little bit more now on here. And just use the brush different ways. These tradition paints, I love using them for this because they are better than craft paint, but they're not as stiff as the tube acrylics. Sometimes tube acrylics can be so thick that you have to add so much water to them, or some type of thinning medium, that you end up getting weak pigment. And these paints here are very consistent. I know the consistency. Like sometimes when you buy paint, one bottle with one tube will be stiff and the other tube will be normal and the other tube will be stiff again. The Traditions are very consistent. There we go. So I get a nice variety here. Okay, with the finishes, you see the nice transparency. See, if that was opaque, I wouldn't be able to see some of that yellow showing through. And the yellow actually turns into a nice rich orange. You can see how nice and wet that is. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside to dry, and I'm going to clean up my palette now. And let's see, what do we have underneath? Ooh, look at that. We have some paint coming through, and I don't care, because I'm just going to apply paint to the back of it to stiffen it up. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry, and I'll be back in a couple minutes. Alright, we're nice and dry now. So what I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to do it up here, I'm going to now add, again, take some glazing medium. Okay, that was a nice sound. And some transparent red iron oxide. Now the one thing with the pigments that I'm using is I'm actually using single pigments, although different from my Art by Nature palette of pigments, which is a set selection of paints that I use. I do have extras that just can't be done by color mixing. You can get substitutes, like for the quinacridone burnt orange, it's PY206. Well, if it's quinacridone burnt orange and PY206, that tells me that it's in a yellow. You know how much work I would have to do to color mix to get something like this? It's easier to buy it like this. Single pigment and transparent. Transparent red iron oxide is a pigment I absolutely love, 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 love. PR101 and transparent. Again, single pigments. That way I know what they're gonna end up with. I know that's what I'm going to get when I blend. But if you don't have transparent red iron oxide, take some burnt sienna, add a smidgen of naphthol red light, and some glazing medium for this technique, or you can use some extender and blending medium if you want the paint to be a little bit longer, take a little bit longer to dry. Okay, so now I'm going to take that same old Gunji brush. I'm going to load a little bit from the side. Okay, now I'm not going to put this everywhere, but I am going to start here and I'm going to do circles. I'm going circles, figure eights. I'm not doing crisscrosses. I did the crisscrosses for the burnt orange layer. I got tongue-tied. Okay, so I'm just gonna, and where there's no paint, I'm just gonna very lightly go over. It'll just skim the surface. Okay, turn that over. And what's nice about it being transparent is that all the layers of paint are kind of showing through. And this is what I call optical color mixing. We didn't physically mix the paints on the palette. We're letting the light shine through. And then what you see is all these layers color mixed. And that's what's only possible when you use transparent colors. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to put so much here. So I'm going to leave more of the center part unpainted. I'll come around here. But if you change it up, it's no big deal. And I can do this 10 times and it'll look different all 10 times. As long as you remember to keep it thin. And where the paint ends, I'm kind of scrubbing over to kind of soften that edge. Like that. Okay. Now while this is drying, I'm going to go in and, oh, I have to reach. Oh, I'm going to add a speck of burnt umber. Now, burnt umber is opaque. All right, it's opaque. I'm just going to add a smidgen. So to all this paint, I'm going to add on the side just a drop. Okay, just a drop of paint, and all that's going to do is basically warm it up a little bit. But because we have already a transparent paint that we're working with, the burnt umber will warm it up and darken it up a little bit, and it'll still stay transparent because I added see, you don't need much. Look at the difference. You don't need much. You just have to make sure it's mixed really well. Okay, it's ready to go. A little bit there. Okay, and then all I'm going to do now is I'm basically going to repeat the same thing that I did. I'm going to come in this way. Okay, so the bottom of this U shape is going to be fairly, well, not fairly dark, but it'll be darker. Again, using those circle strokes, and it's almost like I'm antiquing the edges. Bristle brush is what you have to use for this. You can't use synthetics or sables or anything because you'll ruin the brush. Okay. Way too much paint, so I'll be able to borrow some. And with these types of techniques, I don't worry about, oh, too much paint, oh no. Don't worry about that. What's the worst that can happen? I put too much paint on, or it's too much red, or too much yellow, or too much purple, orange, and green. You let it dry and you cover it up. That's the beauty of acrylics. Okay, so you see I've got a varying pattern there, nice and brown down there. Okay, now on camera it may look a little bit different, but right now this looks like rich, warm colors. Okay, now what do I do with all this leftover paint that I have here? I don't want to throw it out. Well, I'm going to put this aside to dry, and I'm actually going to reserve a little bit in there. I'm going to take another journal that I have. I have a whole bunch of journals here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, a page that needs some color right here. I'm going to go over that. And you can use this to extra paint to prime pages, to go over other pages. Now because this is transparent, this will work out quite nice. So all I'm going to do is just fill up this journal, cover up something that this is my wacky journal, where I do a bunch of different things. It's more where I practice working with conflicting products. So when I say conflicting products, if a paint is not meant to be used this way, I will try to use it this way. So, but for this purpose here, I'm just using this I'm just doing this step here so I don't have to throw the paint out. So I'm just making up and down strokes. At the same time, I can actually see how this paint reacts with multimedia paper. And it's actually quite nice. Down here it's quite lovely. Okay, so I'm just going to put that aside to dry. See, I don't waste. I'm going to take this leftover stuff now, and I'm going to darken this corner up even more. And whatever I can get out of it, that's fine. And whatever I can't, that's fine too. I'm just going to make sure I soften the edges. Dry brush, dry brush, dry brush. Oh, this is beautiful. Come a little bit up here. Okay, I'm going to put my brush in water. There we are. Okay, so I deepen that a little bit more. So look how rich that is. Now, while I let that dry, now some people send me emails after these videos saying, "How do you clean your glass?" Well, right now with this here, okay, I can just take a cleaning cloth. You can use baby wipes, Clorox, Lysol wipes, you know, the kitchen wipes, and I can just go over, and it comes perfectly clean like this. Okay. Stuff that doesn't come so clean, let me just reach. I have this actually put aside so I don't cut myself. I have my scraper, and I can scrape the paint. Okay, I do that, but for most of the part I just have to do this. It's usually for the oils I have to scrape it off, but these paints come off the glass quite easily. And then I just take a paper towel and just wipe the glass, and then I can bring my piece back. All right, so with this here, I'll put my knife back. With this here, it's time now to start putting in some circles. Alrighty, what I did is I put out a little bit of phthalo blue. Now, when I talk about semi-transparent, transparent paints, on the actual tube it says the transparency and the pigment, the light fastness, a whole bunch of information about the paint. So that's how I'm determining what paints, because in some products, you know, paints are transparent, other products are more opaque, and you know, etc., etc. So take a look at the bottle to make sure that you can see what the transparency level is. So I've got phthalo blue, and I still have the Hansa yellow. Now, phthalo blue, way too much, but for camera purposes, I want you to see what happens. If I turn around and just take a little bit of phthalo blue in here, into the Hansa yellow, look how quickly it starts turning into a yellow-green. You don't need a lot of phthalo blue. Okay, but there's a reason why I did it like this. Okay, now I've got this color. Now I'm going to come in right about here, and I'm going to pull more in. And I'm going to go towards this way. Okay. So you can see how easy it is to make all these greens. I like mixing paint like this because you get such a variety. And come down here, a bit more blue. Bring a bit more here. Let's get some real bright green here, yellow green. I'm going to take a speck more of phthalo blue right in the corner here. This gives me a wide range of light greens and intense greens to mid greens to dark greens. So when I'm working with this paper, I'm going to look here to see, well, what's going to look nice on this. Okay. That's looking pretty nice. I kind of like what I have here. Now what I can do is I can take my round brush, and I'm just going to mix these a little bit better. Okay, then I'll take that brush and I'll go right into the next color. I don't need to rinse it out because all these colors are made from the same two pigments. I just don't want to wear out the brush, just acting as a palette knife. And yes, why aren't I using a palette knife? To be honest with you, I was too lazy to go and get it. It's so stifling hot outside. Even with the air conditioner going, I can still feel. We have actually 2 air conditioners on the main floor. Right now outside, it's 43 degrees Celsius. I'm in Canada. I have no idea what that is in Fahrenheit, but I'm sure it's really hot. Alrighty. And I left a little yellow pile there. Okay, now the circles that we're going to draw, we're going to take some, we're going to make probably, we're going to make about 3.5 circles on each. I don't want to make the circles so big that they're going to take up the entire piece of paper, but 3.5, that's kind of a half and half odd number. So I'm going to paint the circles in with this, and then I'm going to use a baby wipe to wipe it up. Why am I telling you this first? Because of the drying time of the paint, I didn't add any extender into this or glazing medium. I didn't add anything into it. I want to put the paint on, and then it's going to tack up for just a few seconds, and I'm going to start wiping it off right away. So it's a time-sensitive exercise that we're going to be doing right now. Now, typically, if you've seen me painting with oils, I'll use Clorox wipes to wipe up the oils. With acrylics, I use baby wipes. Now, we can do fancy circles with, compasses and all that stuff. You know what? These bottles work out really good. So I'm just going to put that there, and I'm just going to take a pencil and lightly draw around. Okay. That works out well. I can overlap one. Oh, it must be that time of the day when the companies are getting out of work. Always overlapping the circles. Oh, 3, and I'll do the 4th off the paper here. Okay, you probably can't see what I just did, but you get the idea. And I'm going to take that round brush again, and no, I lied. I'm going to take my filbert brush, dip it in some water first. Now I'm going to take this dark color, okay, and I'm just going to paint in the green. And I may go in and add some extender to this because the paint's drying fairly quickly. It's because of the studio lights. Okay, so I've got a circle here. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a few seconds, and then I'm going to start taking the baby wipe and I'm going to remove the paint. So I'm just going to touch to it, lift it off. Okay, some paint's coming off. Making sure that as I lift it off that I don't touch this back into the journal. Work outside edge, go outwards and inwards. Just make sure you go to a clean side of the baby wipe. Okay, like that. Then rinse my brush. I'm going to add, oh heck, I'll just use glazing medium because I already had it. I'm going to put a little bit of glazing medium on the table. I'm going to go into glazing medium first. And then, oh, you know what? No, let's leave that the way it is. Glazing medium first, then I'll go into the really light green. I'm going to leave that circle the way it is. want to try something after. And I'm going to go right over the graphite lines. And I don't need to worry about the graphite lines because we're going to be going over the circles with a writing tool. Okay, now let that dry for a bit. Going to go into glazing medium and then a darker green. And I'm going to do this one here. So I'll let that tack up for a little bit. Oh, I like that mix. That turned out really nice. Okay, now baby wipe. This one's really, really thin. I'll be able to do this one first. Not going to do this one too much. There we go. And I'm going to take I'm going to take some transparent red iron oxide right out of the tube. And I want to see what happens if I layer these two together. Ooh, awesome, look at that. So right out of the bottle, transparent red iron oxide right there. That's really cool. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the other side while that dries. I'm not going to do too much removing on this one. While that dries, now I'm going to go to the other side. Now these ones here, I'm going to do the circles similar, but in kind of I'm going to do these freehand. So now I'm going to work with the dark green, the glazing medium, the dark green, and I'm going to go right like this. Okay, oh, that's a terrible circle. Oh my goodness. That's a terrible circle. There we go. Okay, and now a bit of glazing medium and go into the lighter green, and I'm going to put a circle right here, and I'm just going to draw it freehand like so. Then I'm going to go into the lighter green. I'm going to put a circle here. Okay. I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to take a little bit of the really light green. And where can I overlap this one? I'll overlap this one right here. Okay, well that's really cool. This green is very thin. I think I have a little bit too much water in there. Now, baby wipe. There we go, and that's tacked up quite nicely. And just going to remove a little bit of paint. And then when that's dry, then I'll come back and glaze another layer on top. See? All broken circles. I have to join these two together, so I'm going to join these with, again, transparent red iron oxide, and I'm going to make a big circle right here. There's too much water in my brush. The transparent red iron oxide, I'm not going to use a baby wipe on it though. There we go. I think what I want to do is on this other side, I think I want to put a really, really bright circle right here. Like so. Then another green right here. Take the small green and go right here. Then the transparent red iron oxide, join these ones together. And all you're doing is just going back and forth and just putting circles on top. Some of these circles, the ideas will be independent, and some are joined together. There. Okay, baby wipe. The one that's looks the driest, just touch over that one first. Just touch over that one first. And you just start wiping and removing very gently. You don't want to remove too much because we're going to glaze over all of this after. You just want to have a little bit of that background showing through. Oops, I forgot one. Way over here. Little one. Okay, clean baby wipe. I have to clean up that edge. Okay, that looks really nice. Now, this isn't taking very long to dry, so with this, shake, 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 and I'm going to take a little bit more transparent red iron oxide and glazing medium, which will make it mega transparent. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly go over all the circles. And where, like this one here, where it's too much, I'm just going to wipe up a little bit. And all I'm doing is basically, make sure you put the glazing medium, all I'm doing is I'm glazing over the circles to remove any of that really strong, intense green. Now, the other thing that you can do too is if you did all your circles too intense, glazing medium and the transparent red iron oxide just go over your entire piece. And I'm just kind of putting this in just over some of the circles, inside this circle right here. Okay, gonna go back over there. Don't worry about the graphite lines showing through because we're going to be going over the edges with the writing tool that I have. And that, I'm going to probably do those just in silver, like a silver finish. Anytime you touch anything that's red with green, it cuts down on the intensity. Green is a color I can't stand. I hate green. So why did I choose it? Because the whole purpose of doing stuff that's creative is getting out of your comfort zone. When I'm teaching journaling classes here, and I actually have some people go, "What color should I use to make this circle?" And I'll say, "Well, what color do you think you should use?" And they'll say, "I don't know, what do you like?" And I'll say, "Well, it's not my journal." I will give them guidance on, some color theory and stuff like that. But I say, pick your favorite color. And so I say, do whatever you like. Because if I tell you use color A plus color B plus color C, it becomes your journal. So I chose green because I hate green. Gets me out of my comfort zone, and see what I can do with it. I like this. Look at that. Love that. At the same time, I'm looking here, and I'm going to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to take the tip of one of the brushes, okay? I'm going to dip it into transparent red iron oxide, and I'm just going to put dots over. And these will be my little microscopic ideas. Now, if we had plenty of time, what I would do, and I just thought of this now, I would actually draw the top part of my face here with my eyes looking up, and these will be all my thoughts. So that's really cool. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this paint. I'm going to just smush this paint, all the leftover paint, into a journal that's on the side. I'm going to clean this up, and then I'm going to get the writing tool, and I'm going to show you the really neat way to really put some glam onto this cover. Alrighty, so we have everything here. Now I want to show you something really cool. If you have a piece here like this is kind of dark, I'm going to take my baby wipe on my finger, and I'm just going to rub the outside edge to see if I can remove a little bit of paint, and a little bit of paint is coming off, and that's going to get rid of that really harsh corner. See? You got to be careful when I know that I can do this on TerraSkin, but if you're using regular paper product, be very careful because it might not come off. Okay? You might actually tear the paper. And what I'm doing is I'm removing the top layer, which is showing the bright green underneath. Not everywhere though. Okay, and I'll do that here as well. Yeah, so I'll just do the center, some I'll do the edge. This one here is actually pretty good. This one here is pretty good. Alright. So, I'm going to show you now a few things. Now, when you're working with brushes, personally myself, I find it very difficult to work with those mega long rigger brushes or script brushes when I want to do writing because I don't have very much control. What I like to do is I like to take a liner brush that's relatively bigger. Okay, it's still long but relatively bigger, that way it'll hold more paint, and then I will take my hand and I will start making some strokes, and as I get more comfortable, then I will go right onto my paper. I'll just kind of slide my hand. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two ways to do the outline. I am going to sorry, I just had to remove the cap on that. I'm going to use some metallic paint. So I'm just going to shake the bottle here. And I'm going to use Black Pearl. It's called Dazzling Metallics from DecoArt. And I'm just going to put a little bit out there. Even that's too much. Okay? So I put my paint, a little puddle of paint right there. And then I'm also going to, on the side, I'm going to use Paper Effects. Now, Paper Effects is paint, metallic paint, that's got a writing nib with it. And I'll show you that. So I'm taking my number 0. Now these are all synthetic brushes. They're not sable. Okay, because first of all, sable would get ruined with the way that I use them. I use my nice Landical sable brushes for my oil paintings. So I'm going to take my brush and see how a lot of paint. And then I'm going to pick a circle. Okay, and I'm going to rest my hand on top of it just to support my hand. And I'm just going to draw an outline. And I'm drawing the outline over the graphite. I didn't cover the circle. I don't care. Okay? I didn't go on complete outside of the circle. Now I'm going to do this one. No, I'm going to actually change. I'm going to go over this one here. I'm going to go over this one here. So again, I'm going to cut my hand. Okay? Hopefully you can see. And my hand, my painting hand is resting on top of my left hand. I'm going to reload. I'm going to start in where I've already made the stroke, start making my stroke, and continue. That way it looks seamless. Need a little bit more moisture in there. And what this is going to give me, I'm going to go all the way around. And this is going to give me kind of like a grayish tone, but when the light hits it, it's really shiny. Okay, and you can do this with all different colors. I just want to use the gray for this one, and then this one here as well. So I'm resting my painting hand on top of my left hand. Okay. So you can continue on doing it that way. And then I'm going to show you with the, okay, so the paper effects, it comes like this, and there's a seal inside. You take the seal off, shake it really well first, then you can put the nozzle on top. Now there's a pin in there, and what I do with the pin, push the nozzle on top. What I do with the pin is when I'm finished using this, I'll take the top off and I'll stick the pin, which is microscopically tiny. I'll stick the pin inside. I need to take my glasses off and get closer. Stick the pin inside. Okay, like that. And then put the cap on. And that guarantees me that next time I use it, I take the pin out and it's not clogged. Okay? So now with this, I'll do it on this one here, is you just start it straight up. Now I know I'm going to be in the way. Straight up and lightly squeeze. And I like squeezing this off the surface till I see some of the paint coming out. And then I come in. And I make that circle. Okay, let me do another one here. I'm going to rest my hand. That one I didn't have my hand rested. Oh, this one's really crooked. This one's really crooked. Okay, and basically you can just make your circles with this. I love using these for actually doing my writing. So let me finish the circles using the other paint and the liner brush, the number 0 liner brush. And I'm going to wait for that to dry, because I like using different mediums. When I say mediums, I don't mean like glazing medium. I mean mediums like in paint and stuff. I like using different kinds, kind of like all over, because it unifies the design. Now this is really dark here. I'm going to use the drawing tool for this, the paper effects. Okay. And because the Black Pearl Dazzling Metallics is a little dark for this. But you know what? Who knows? It could look really, really good. Okay. And I'm going to do this one here. That's kind of dark. I think I'm going to use this now. There we go. And you might be saying, boy, your hand is really shaky. You know, it's the texture is getting caught on the nib, which is fine. Which is fine. If I wanted perfect circles, I'd attach this to a compass. And I like the Black Pearl. This is Silver Pearl. Okay, and I'm going to show you. Let's do the same thing now with the writing tool with the Black Pearl version of the Pearl Effects. I like experimenting. So you see how you got the cap? Just take it off. Okay. Not over your art piece though, like I just did. And you're going to put that, and you're going to shake, shake, shake. And I've got all my little caps in a little container. And I'm just going to push that on top. Now let's see what that one looks like. On a paper towel, squeeze to get it going. Oh, is that ever different? That looks like lead. It looks like, you know, when you do the glass stuff. Is that ever cool? That's neat. I'm going to go back over. I like that. That's very dimensional. I'm going to use this one to do the writing. So, I'm going to kind of turn this around and kind of show you what I've got now. Okay, so this is what I have for my cover. I'm just going to move this. Yes, I could have put this into my journal. There's such little left of it. I want to put something here to write in now. Now, this is where when you want to put like a writing prompt. So remember, this is going to be the cover of the journal. Okay, so I have all that room to write. So I have to decide what am I going to write down. I can choose. Oh, while I'm yammering, I'm going to put the little pins inside the paint. I can choose to write, just basically art journal, or I can actually write down embellishment words. And with the embellishment words, or they're called more writing prompts, is you can write down something, on here. So I can think of saying, I can put here, let's say, challenge myself, or artful, ideas. This is ideas. I can put idea muscles or something like that. What else have we got? Live by the thought. Those types of things. So whatever you do for yours, think of what you want to actually write down. If you want to, you don't even have to write down, but you can write something down on this, figure out what you want to write, and then I just like to go over it with very light graphite before I start to paint it. Okay, so I'm going to take this paint here, and I decided to make my words idea clouds. So is this dry? Okay, that's dry. Now I'm just going to clean off the tip here, and I'm kind of twisted, and I'm going to do this freehand. I'm going to get this started off on the paper towel. Okay. I only have one crack at this, so idea clouds. Now what font do I want to use? I do my letters so differently. Do I want to just do a scripty? I'm just going to do a scripty for now. So I'm just going to and I know it's this upside down, but I don't have a choice. Idea clouds. There we go. Like so. And I can turn around on the back, right in here. I'm going to write here random thoughts. And what we've got like this. And you can turn around and use these tools. I mean, they come in all these different colors, and just write inside. You can turn around as well, and I can take this and just push a little bit, push on, wait a bit, and take it off, and I get all these little nice little designs here. and wait. Squeeze, draw, wait. Squeeze, draw, wait. And at each beginning and end, there's a dot. Okay, which looks really cool. I can turn around and over on this side do the same thing, and what I can do is on this one here I can go across. Squeeze, wait, draw, squeeze, wait, draw. And I'm going to the outside of the other circle. I'm not going right through. Okay. And oh, I smudged it. Oh my goodness, I smudged it. Let me fix this. There we go. I smudged it. See, that's okay. So now I'm going to put the pin back on that writing tool. Just going to dab the tip, put the pin on top. There we go. So now I'm going to let this dry, and then when we come back, I will show you how to bind this using a straightforward pamphlet stitch. Bind this to all the folios in the one signature and make this into a finished journal. Alrighty, so all dry. Only one little accident with a smudge, but that's fine. So it's ready to go. And what I'll do is, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to bother, but what I'll do is that later on, I will actually paint this with gesso to make it stiffer, but it doesn't really need it because I could actually just create art right on this page as well. So what we need to do is we need to punch our folios. Now what I've done is, off camera, is I've taken each folio and burnished it. Okay, that was already done. And I'm going to take the cover, put the cover on there, which the cover has already been folded. Okay, so it'll be like this. So what I need to do now is get that in there, and I have to get some clamps. And the clamps, oh, little clamps, not big clamps. The clamps, I'll wait till I finish the noise. The clamps are basically just going to hold the paper because I trimmed the edges. So I'm going to do this, okay, fold it, have it nice and snug, and you're just going to put a clamp right inside. It's this edge that I don't want to move. Okay, and on the inside here, and on the inside here. Okay, so I've got that clamped, and open it up. Alright, now with it open, just going to move the clamps aside a little bit, because what I need to do is I've got my paper already measured. Okay, I'm going to fold it in half. And what I did, I folded it in half, then I folded it in half again. All we need to do is punch 1, 2, 3 holes. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will mark the holes with circles so you can see. Okay. I'm going to go inside. Okay. And my awl, I'm going to do a light punching. Make sure it's, oh, smack dab in the middle. Excellent. Okay. That actually worked out perfectly. I'm going to go back over with more pressure. Perfect. Now I can take these off. Alright. Measured out my thread already. What a mess. You can use colored thread, it doesn't matter for the purpose of this demonstration. I'm just using my waxed thread, which is now all tangled. And the stitch that we're going to do is just basically going to be a very, very simple pamphlet stitch, and we're going to start from the inside of the book. So I'm just going to make a tail, and because we're going to, now you can leave the tail hanging or you can cut it off, it doesn't matter. If you cut it off, you might want to put a dab of glue or make a couple of knots. I like leaving mine because it actually shows that it's a real book that's hand bound. Okay, so measured, it's only one signature, so really you only need to measure one. But I already have all this on here already, so I'm just going to use this. Okay, you're going to come in from the middle, inside of the book, in the middle sewing station. Okay, like so. You're going to go to either side, it doesn't matter, so I'm going to go to this side, go into the top sewing station or top hole. Okay, go all the way down to the end through this hole. Okay, go back in the center hole. Okay, gonna pull it nice and snug. Now, where that first stitch was, I'm going to put the one thread on this side, because this one here went straight across. One thread on one side, one thread on the other side, and I'm going to tie a knot right in the middle. That's it. And scissors. Oh, I got my dull scissors. And there you go. And there's the book that's bound. You have this nice stitch going across. And this thing here, you can let it hang, you can trim it, it doesn't matter. I'm going to trim that a little bit better. I don't like all that fraying. I've actually attached little charms to this. But you can cut it if you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, so there we go. So now we have our own custom mixed media journal with various papers that we can use to create some artwork. So the way this allows me to have enough pages to create a piece of art a day, and I can have any extras. If I miss a day, I can just use that to make notes. There's the back side. And there's the front side. I can draw this way or I can draw this way. So I really hope that you enjoyed this project. Give it a shot. Once you actually do your own bookbinding and make your own artist journals, you might tend to find that you prefer making your own because it's truly your own personal masterpiece.